This is Sean Ferguson with FlickDirect talking to the superhero music panel at Comic-Con 2014. Okay. My first question for you. Now, you got Expendables coming up.
Yeah.
And you've got Fast and Furious coming up too, right?
We got a million things coming up.
You've got a handful of series that you've been doing. Is there a series that you just enjoy working on more than any?
I love all the series. Expendables is close to my heart because I did the first Expendables. It's one of those things, I've now done 3, but certainly Fast and Furious, one of my best friends has been responsible for 3 of the movies that I've done on that one, Justin Lin, and love that. And then certainly the series of Marvel films, they're all interconnected. They're not, I guess, really one after another sequels necessarily, but they're all part of the same universe. And to me, I grew up collecting Marvel comics, so it's a huge, it's a ball for me to be involved with that.
So where do you come up with these themes for like the Avengers and all? Where do you have a specific spot that you like to come up with your music? Do you have a theory or? Not
really. I mean, thinking back like on Thor, I sat down at the piano and I just was thinking, what can I use? And then the first thing that popped in my head was, wait, Thor, because I just finished Iron Man 3 and Tony Stark is this kind of, he's a guy in a suit, that has an inventor, that his superpower is his mind, And Thor is a god. So I thought, what does a god sound like? And so it became like choir and big orchestra and everything. And I think that's really where it comes from first. You think of the main character of your film, and then you just think, if they were walking out on stage somewhere, what would their music be? And I just have to approach it like that. And so I started writing the Thor theme, and there it is.
Very cool. So through all your works, is there a favorite piece, a favorite of yours of all your work, a sentimental favorite?
I think. I love Ninja Turtles, the one I just finished, because it's like I just finished it, so I always think it's in my head right now, and I really love it. So, but I certainly love the funeral scene on the water from Thor. Was, I think, an especially powerful kind of moment.
We got Guardians of the Galaxy coming up. Tell me how you came up with some of this music for the scores.
Well, it began before production. James Gunn obviously shared the script with me, and we discussed it. He said, "Look, we're making a space rock opera," and James and I share a great vernacular with music and our sensibilities over the past decade of knowing one another.
Right.
So he said, "Look, man, let's write some music now so we can film to it." And we did a little bit of that in Super, but I started developing some theme ideas, and then he started sharing some of the previs sequences with me and the key art. And we were fortunate enough to have several big pieces of music that became central themes in the film in place for him to film to, and then he played them over a loud PA system on set so the actors and the crew would then respond to the music.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, I kind of look at scores nowadays as almost like your modern classical music. It's kind of like there's not too many people writing like the instrumentals anymore. Do you have your own favorite composers for scores?
Not really. There's so many hugely talented people just in this room,
Right.
But I'm either busy working or just writing music. I do a lot of collaborations for records, and, I enjoy film music when I see it in the cinema, but I really find inspiration from performing and from listening to other types of music and then bringing that into the scope of a film score.
Very cool. Just curious, what are you listening to on your iPod or on your MP3s these days?
What's been fun lately? I love D. Antwoord. They always put me in a good mood. They're great. If I want to mellow out, I might just listen to Ryuichi Sakamoto.
Can I get a couple questions out of you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so first, and I'm sure a lot of people have asked this, Superman Returns. You get to step in on John Williams. What is it like having the permission first to be able to step in on John Williams, and yet you did it so subtly and so beautifully?
Well, I've told the story before, but it was pretty daunting because I was getting death threats before I even started. First of all, you better use that theme, or you better watch your step, or why the hell are you scoring this film? So I had to get through all of that mental wall before I could actually start just freeing myself up. So the moment I just started to just forget all about that and just, I was so in the movie after helping make the film, I just sort of scored it like I would any other film with my own sensibilities, which kind of oddly were born from the John Williams, Jerry Goldsmith era. And so I automatically score with that ilk. And then I just used his theme as if it were the main theme of the film, which it was,
That's fantastic, and I have to tell you that when it comes to superhero themes, I mean, we think Superman, I automatically think Batman, and then the next one comes X-Men. I mean, X-Men, the whole theme is fantastic.
Well,
You've gotten
thank you.
to carry it all the way through. Where did that come from?
Well, not all the way through. It basically was X-Men 2 and this one, so I resurrected it, and it was a hard-fought battle. But I'm very glad it's back, and I'm a little biased because it was my theme. But after making X-Men 2 and this one, I just really wanted some connection between the two films, and I hope it continues through the franchise, to at least so the franchise has a definition like other franchises do.
So what do we got coming up from you next? What's your next work that you're most proud of?
I don't know if I'm proud of it because I haven't done it.
So you're kind of like in between right now.
Yeah, no. Right now it's dates, life before the door shuts on my life again. So it's just I have an OkCupid date tonight, so we'll see. I get to jam in life before the next thing starts, and
you got to,
and say goodbye to your friends and family.
So first, I got to ask you. I'm big fan of Buffy.
Thank you.
Angel. So what is it? How's the difference between writing for like a television series like that and then going to these big movies that you're working on?
Well, there are certainly differences in workflow and budget and schedule, but essentially it's the same. It's the same craft or art, which is the same art that drove the composers of operas and ballets, which is how do you tell a story through music? Films are the operas of our time. If Mozart were alive today, I have no doubt he would be a film composer.
Very.
So fundamentally, it's storytelling through music, and fundamentally that doesn't change no matter the medium or the genre, or whether the movie's any good or not, or whether the filmmakers you're working with are difficult or pleasant. It's just all the same challenge. How do I get the story across with whatever musical ideas I can summon from wherever they come from.
Right.
So it's the differences are significant, but essentially superficial.
Okay, question. With Frozen, I mean, Frozen's such a big hit all the way around. Was there any clue? Did you have a feeling when you were working on it that this is something that
No, in fact, when I was first hired to see the film, and they brought me in they have these monthly screenings where they screen the film for many of the employees of Disney Animation. The guy who hired me, Tom McDougall, who's the head of music at Disney Animation, or one of the co-heads, I should say, he kind of said to me, now before you see this, just so you know, these films, they tend to come together at the last minute. Oh, wow. So don't freak out. Because what I sat down and saw was really not really well formed yet, especially the opening. They really were still working on trying to figure out what the opening was going to be. And frankly, I was really excited that I was doing my first big Disney animated film, but after I saw it, I was kind of thinking to myself, why couldn't it have been Wreck-It Ralph? Why does it have to be this? So obviously I was incredibly wrong about that, and I knew I was wrong about that as they continued to work on the movie, and they solved, one problem at a time with the pacing and the storytelling, and it really did, just as Tom said, it just totally came together at the end, but not to the point where you could imagine what had happened after it came out. Yeah, I think it was a surprise to everybody.
Speaking of Disney, I mean, you also got to do both works for the Muppets. How was it being a part of Jim Henson's legend? I mean, that's a big thing to step into.
Those were really fun, especially because of the propensity for the Muppets to break the third wall a little bit and look right at the camera and make comments about the movie that they're in, and the music can sometimes play along with that. I don't think we ever got as far as the character referring directly to the underscore, but these definitely can do a lot of winking and have a lot of fun with the music there. I think that's one particular case where it's really great fun to work in a comedy like that. All kinds of different styles of music within one film score, and it's just good, silly fun.
Well, I loved it, and I have to ask you: is there a sentimental favorite of all your work? Something that stands out that had a place in your heart that you did?
There's a lot, so it's hard to single one out. But I will say Buffy, just because it was really my first kind of legitimately popular project to work on. The first project I worked on where I could tell people what it was, and I wouldn't have to explain what it was. They would know what it was. And also have very fond and nostalgic feelings about my time on the show, and just from a perspective of a musician who needs to practice. That was great practice. I mean, that was 3 years of writing a score a week, and each episode was like a mini movie. Right. And I think I learned the most of any other period of my career. That's where I did the most learning.
It's fantastic, and thank you so much for coming out here and talking to us. We really appreciate it. I love your work. I actually have it in my iPod.
Nice.
So
Great.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.